Babies whose first 2 years fell under Britain's post-war sugar rationing grew into adults with less dementia and less Alzheimer's 70 years later. That comes from an observational study of 60,000 British adults. It's a real link, not a diet anyone should copy. In these adults, the researchers compared people whose first 2 years fell under rationing with people born just after it ended. Even after accounting for genetics, wealth and education, the rationed group had 27% less dementia and about half the Alzheimer's risk, the most common cause of dementia. The same group had 11% less depression and 20% less anxiety, but it didn't touch everything. Parkinson's showed no difference. Your first instinct is that this can't be real. You can't know what a 70-year-old ate as a baby. There's no record, and memory doesn't reach age 2. So how could anyone measure it? The study never asked. It used a birthday. Sugar rationing ended on one day in 1953, and your birthday decided your side of it. Here's why a birthday can stand in for an experiment. You could never run this on purpose. No ethics board lets a scientist assign babies to more sugar or less. But history ran it by accident. Take 2 babies born a few months apart. The one born just before 1953 spent its first 1,000 days, conception to about age 2, under rationing. The one born just after did not. Otherwise, they're alike. Same country, same families, same era. So which side of that date a baby fell on is almost as random as a coin flip. That's a natural experiment. History does the sorting a researcher never could, by an accident of timing, not by choice. But that same cliff hides a catch. It didn't lift only sugar. It lifted everything at once. Sweets, yes, but also fats, the whole rationed wartime diet, and the start of Britain's recovery. So the comparison is really those born just before rationing ended against those born just after, not sugar with everything else held equal. That's why the authors call it a link, not a cause. But the study's own structure still shows something real. The protection appeared only when the restriction continued after birth. Babies rationed only in the womb showed almost no protection. And Parkinson's showed no effect at all. A blanket healthier era story wouldn't be that specific. Now, put a size on it. Alzheimer's had the biggest relative cut, roughly halved. But that's half of a very small number. Across all 60,000 people, there were only about 138 Alzheimer's cases, under 1/4%. Depression and anxiety are common, so their smaller cuts move far more people. Thousands, not dozens. About 10,000 of them also had brain scans, and in the rationed group, those brains looked about 4/10 of a year younger than real age, measured by software that reads a brain's age off an MRI. It's real but small, a stand-in for brain health, not a diagnosis. So the study that would settle this runs the same natural experiment, where sugar isn't tied to an entire era, a different country, a more mixed population, and records of what children actually ate, not a label read off a birth date. You can't randomise babies to sugar, so a natural experiment is still the route. Babies rationed sugar in 1950s. Britain grew into adults with less dementia and less Alzheimer's. The study never watched anyone's plate. It read a birth date, on either side of a law that lifted a whole way of life at once. That's a real link between early life sugar and the ageing brain, but never a reason to change a baby's diet.